friends, it's Zoe and welcome back to my channel. I'm so excited to share with you all my bullet journal setup for 2026. This is truly my favorite video of the year, so I hope you can gain some inspiration for your journal or simply enjoy watching. If you're new here, let me introduce myself. My name is Zoe and I've been bullet journaling since 2016, so this will be my 10th year bullet journaling. Bullet journaling has helped me through high school, college, and now my first years as a young working adult. I love how every journal becomes a time capsule of your past self's thoughts and memories, aspirations and goals, hobbies and routines. It really is a slice of life. If you're new to bullet journaling, I highly recommend watching videos by the official inventor of the bullet journal. His name is Ryder Carroll, and he designed the system to help with his ADHD, and it has truly transformed into a huge community, ranging from the ultra-minimalist journalers to the most elaborate and artistic journalers. As always, feel free to simplify or modify the spreads to your own life needs and lifestyle. I'll be sharing 12 different spread ideas, all centered around making 2026 the best it can be. So enough of my intro, and let's get on with the spreads. This first page is the index. It works like a table of contents where you can write down the locations of certain pages that you want to flip back to. The beauty of the bullet journal is that it's flexible. Since all the pages are blank, nothing has to be in perfect order. You can set up these pages I'm showing you at any time of the year, and the index will help you find it later on so it won't get lost in your journal. I drew a 2-column table where I write down the page number and description, and I also have another table that is dedicated only to the 12 months of the year. Of course, that is optional and can be easily integrated into the first box, but I like to separate it. Usually after I set up these yearly spreads, I divide the remaining pages by 12 and see how many pages I have per month. And so as the year goes on, I can see if I am on track to fitting all the months in the year, which I usually do. This is super extra and optional, as is everything that I will share in this video. If your journal does not have page numbers, I have written the page numbers in myself in the past. I didn't do it all at once because that would be super tiring, but instead I wrote the numbers as I filled in the journal throughout the year. To the right of the index, I'm setting up my year at a glance page where I write down all 365 days of the year. I think this page is super satisfying to look at, but it really isn't that functional. If you don't want to handwrite all the days, you can also print out mini calendars or use special stamps that have all the days. To finish off the spread, I used some stamps I designed and carved myself and added some stickers as well. As always, I will list all of my supplies in the description below. If you're enjoying the vibe so far, please consider subscribing to join our little cozy journaling community. We just hit 12,000 as I'm filming this, which is crazy, and I want to thank you all so much for supporting the channel. 12,000 is a lot of people, and I'm truly so grateful for you all. Up next is the future log. I am once again writing all 365 days of the year, but this time I am leaving some space underneath the months to write down any future events I have going on this year. Honestly, I was debating making this spread for a long time since I don't really use it that much. I really only use it for birthdays, but actually this year I ended up writing down my recap of the year almost in this spot, so any trips that I took, I also wrote down in this section. And it becomes like a little overview of the whole year, all the places I went as well. So I enjoyed that and I wanted to make it again for this year. I will also be posting my 2025 bullet journal flip through at the beginning of next year, so stay tuned for that to see how I actually fill out these spreads. Later on in this video, you'll see kind of like a sneak peek of that because I wanted to show an example of how I fill out the spreads, since sometimes it's hard to tell when I'm just setting them up. So basically right now what I'm doing is cutting out a portion of the page to make it look like there is a mini page inside of the page. They call this a Dutch door spread in the bullet journaling community. And if you've ever seen a Dutch door before, you know that they are cut in the middle, so they kind of have like two panels that swing. I'm not explaining that so well, but you see what I mean by looking at the page. So you'll see me do a lot of these Dutch doors later on in the video, just because it's really convenient and I don't have to write the title of the page multiple times when it's supposed to be all together. So yeah, you can use this page for any future events you want to remember, such as birthdays, holidays, appointments, things like that. This next page is my Word of the Year page. Every year I like to reflect on the past year and then think about how I want to bring myself in the new year. What is the vibe for the new year? How do I want to define my mindset? In school, this was a bit easier to define since I had a better idea about what was going to happen. I knew what classes I was going to take, whether they'd be particularly challenging or not. 2025 was the first year of my life where I didn't have any school, and I also started it unemployed, so I really did not know what was going to happen, even looking at it from a month-to-month basis. So for 2025, I chose the word curiosity because I wanted to keep an open mind and learn as much as I could from everywhere and everyone. For 2026, I still don't know exactly what will happen, but now that I have a job and my routine is a bit more stable, I have the ability to really go after what I want to do. I really want to be ambitious this year. There are many steps I can take in my career that require lots of studying, and I also want to get back into exercising regularly, as well as take full advantage of living in New York City. I really want to level up this year, so that's why I chose this word, endeavor. I'll leave the link to the website that had a really good list of possible words to choose from. I was deciding between like 6 of them, and the passage that I wrote underneath the definitions of endeavor are kind of like a hodgepodge of the messages I found on that website. So go check it out if you want to also choose a word of the year. And if you do end up choosing, I would love to know in the comments what your word for 2026 is. And next to my word of the year page, I have my 2026 bingo sheet. Last year for 2025, I made a bingo sheet of all the things I wanted to do that year. And I actually was super motivated by it, and I thought it was so fun to make and fill out. It's kind of like a mix between a vision board and resolutions page. Resolutions always feel so serious to me, but by putting them in a bingo was actually so satisfying. You can see my bingo from 2025 in the top right of the screen right now. And for my bingo, I wanted to put a mix of personal goals, health goals, fun activities, and career goals. I technically could do all of these in one year, but I know that there might be some that will go unchecked, and that is totally okay. I'm going to go on a mini rant right now, but the creator of the bullet journal, writer Carol, who I mentioned earlier in this video, said this really profound thing that has really stuck in my brain, which is something along the lines of that when you are setting a goal, you have literally the least amount of information possible about how you will experience like going after that goal. So goals are meant to be modified as you work through them. You learn about how realistic you can actually progress through your goal the more you go through it. So when you set your goal, you literally have no idea how long something is actually going to take. But as you start this goal that you work on throughout time, you gather information and you should be able to adjust your goal depending on the information that you've gathered. So that's why I don't really believe in setting up resolutions anymore. These bingo sheets, I call them more of a vision board because it is kind of like an aspiration to do all these things, but you know, life goes so unplanned, so it's okay to adjust your goals. You can always start again, you can always start over. Like, as long as you're living and breathing on this planet, there's time to adjust. So that's my mini rant. For these next spreads, I have my watch log and book log, which I kind of showed an example of before I set up the page. I kind of just make a check if the title that I watched is a movie or TV show, and then I write down the date that I watched it, as well as a 5-star review. And then to the page to the right is my book log, where I have kind of this huge table of the months of the year and the days of the month. So it's a 12 by 31 box. If you want to see how I fill it out better, you can pause it where I showed the example from this year. But basically, I have a color for a book, and I'll draw a little key which has the book title and the book author, and then in that kind of calendar space, I fill in what days I read that book. And then once I finish the book, I'll just put a little check mark and fill in that goal box in that little flap there. And in this next spread, I have my music log, which you can also see an example of in the beginning. And I'm also creating another Dutch door since I'm putting 4 months on one page, so I'll need 3 pages. And then with that leftover page on the right, I usually put down my Spotify Wrapped as well as my last FM Wrapped. And then I'm also going to create an ongoing list of all the concerts that I went to that year. So the page on the right is kind of just a free space of the music that I enjoyed this year. And then in every month, I like to write down my top songs, my top artists, and my top albums. And usually what I'll do at the end of the year is print out a little album cover of my top artist or top song or whatever and paste it in as well. And then this next page, you can also see an example in the beginning of how it will look at the end of the year. But basically, I want to track my YouTube videos, but this kind of spread can be used for anything that you want to track throughout the year. And this is kind of broken up into the 4 quarters of the year. So the column on the left is January, February, March, and then April, May, June is the yellow. And I'll just write a check mark on the day that I upload a video and then write the video title to the right of that. It is kind of like a smushed page. There's not that much space to write, but for my videos, I can abbreviate them pretty well. But if you need more space, obviously, you can make this over the course of more pages. I just like the way the year kind of flows together. And then there's space on the bottom of that for any other notes that I want to take. If I have more video ideas or if I want to write down my analytics, I can do that here. So there's just some extra space on the bottom for more planning. This next page is also a bit of a free spread where I have my cooking page. So this year I want to learn a lot more recipes, and also I want to cook with friends more because I think that is pretty fun. Something I used to do in college a lot, and I do miss that. So underneath, my goal, I'll just write down some recipes or foods that I was into this year. And then to the right of that, I have my period tracker. So it's a similar setup to the book log where I have my 31 days of the month and then the 12 months of the year. And I have a key for, the flow of the period. So when I get my period, I'll just fill out the key on those days. And yeah, pretty straightforward, but it's important. And then this next spread, I'm creating yet another Dutch door. And this page will be my keep in touch spread. So for the keep in touch spread, I like to write down the last time that I, caught up with somebody, whether it's through FaceTime, calling, or mailing a letter. So pretty straightforward. I just have a column for the date, the name, as well as the method of communication. But yeah, hopefully this, helps me keep in touch with the people that I care about. And then for this next page, I also have an example of the spread that I'm going to basically remake for 2026. But it is my ins and out page. For the ins, you kind of write down what you want to bring into the new year, and then for the out is what you want to leave behind. And this page actually had a pretty strong impact on me, and I did actually find myself straying away from my bad habits. Like, one of the main things I really focused on this year was avoiding over-promising, whether that's in my relationships or with my job. And I have a habit of, wanting to please people, and I think I can do it, but I actually, not that I can't, but things will take a lot longer than I think, or it's more challenging than I think, or just I don't have the energy for that, but I'll still say I can do it. So this year I was actually pretty good about, setting my boundary or just being honest that I really don't have the space to do that right now, or I can't commit to something right now, even though I really want to. I do stretch myself a little too thin sometimes. And then the space on the right of that is just a fun spread for all of the themes that I'll be doing this year. All right, here is the final flip through of my 2026 bullet journal setup. I really hope you enjoyed watching this setup. I really appreciate you if you made it to the end. And I wish you a happy new year. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much. Bye.